Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we discuss all things financial literacy. Last year, I released a video that opened a lot of people's eyes, and it was about freezing and opting out of secondary credit reporting agencies. And this was agencies like LexisNexis, Innovis, Check Systems, Early Warning Services, Factor Trust, and many more. Now, most of these companies people never hear of until they run into a problem. What a lot of people do not realize is that there are not just 3 credit bureaus. There are dozens. In fact, there are over 50 secondary consumer reporting agencies that collect, store, and share your personal and financial information every single day. In today's video, I'm going to have a clearer breakdown of the difference between freezing your information versus opting out, when each one actually makes sense, and how they actually work, and how you can start taking control of your data and where it lives and who has access to it. We're also going to walk through where you can find a complete list of all the consumer reporting agencies, how to request your reports, and how to dispute information, as well as how to protect yourself moving forward. And before we discuss freezing versus opting out, I want to make something very clear. I have multiple videos on this channel that show you step by step how to remove inaccurate or outdated information from secondary bureaus. There's an entire compilation. I'm going to link that down in the description, or actually I'm going to link it here so you can click on that video if you want to watch it. So if your goal is to completely remove information, then those videos are essential and I highly recommend that you watch them. Now, this video will be about understanding the difference between freezing and opting out and how it fits into a larger credit repair strategy if that is your goal. Or if you're having issues with other secondary reporting agencies, then this will be an updated educational video for you where you can actually learn exactly where this information is being reported to and what you can actually do about getting that information removed if it's hindering you in any way possible. Either way, both situations do matter, so let's get right into the video. This is my 3rd time updating this video, so some of this information, if you've heard it before, please bear with me because there's someone new. They may be hearing this for the very first time. Now, a security freeze will place a restriction on access to your consumer report at a specific bureau or data furnisher. And when you place a freeze, that company cannot release your information without explicit authorization. So freezes are primarily designed to prevent unauthorized access. And this is why freezes are commonly used as an identity theft protection tool. If someone tries to open an account in your name, that freeze will stop them in the process until you lift it. Now, opting out is completely different. Opting out means that you're telling a data broker or consumer reporting agency to stop sharing your personal information for marketing, pre-screening, or promotional purposes, and it limits how your data is sold or distributed to third parties. So if you're receiving things like credit card offers, insurance offers, unsolicited mail, that's something that opting out should help. Now, opting out does not necessarily block all access to your report. Again, it just limits how the information is shared beyond permissible purposes. And I think this is where a lot of misinformation exists. Freezing does not automatically remove information from your report. Opting out does not automatically delete historical data. These are privacy and access controls, not deletion tools. However, both freezing and opting out play a powerful role in reducing data exposure and limiting unnecessary sharing, which does cut down on spam offers and protecting your overall credit profile, as well as just your information as a whole. Now, in my experience, freezing and opting out absolutely does help when combined with active credit repair and monitoring, because I'm sure that's in the context of how people are watching this video. The more you reduce unnecessary data sharing, the fewer data points will exist for errors, mismatches, and verification that you do not want. So let's just give a little more information about how this does actually help you. A security freeze, once again, does not block companies that already have a legitimate relationship with you. So what I mean by that is, if you have an existing account with a lender or a collection agency acting on behalf of that lender, they can still access these reports because they actually have legal permission to do so. That's why if you're trying to do something like opt out of check systems or early warnings, it doesn't mean that you'll be able to now open bank accounts. That information is still there. It's just that only people who have permission to see it legally can see it, as well as no one can use it for marketing or spam purposes or anything like that. So in other words, freezing is not a magic eraser. It's basically like a gatekeeper. It just controls future access not past relationships. However, this is why reducing data matters more now than you think. Every time your data is shared, it creates another opportunity for mistakes, outdated records, mixed files, or identity mismatches. When you opt out and freeze strategically, you are shrinking your digital footprint inside the financial system, and this can reduce unsolicited credit offers, reduce marketing mail, reduce robot calls, reduce spam, and reduces the chance that your data ends up in more places than you would like, and more importantly, it does put you back in control. Now, before you dispute anything, you freeze anything, or you opt out of anything, you need to know where you actually stand, and that's what knowing your credit score and your full credit profile is all about, and not just from one bureau, but from all three. If you're serious about credit repair, rebuilding, or optimization, you need real visibility, and that's exactly why I recommend using a credit monitoring platform that shows all three bureaus and allows you to simulate future moves, know your current score in step 1, and understand how actions will impact your score in step 2. So if you want to take that seriously, I recommend signing up for Rising.com. They do have an offer right now where you can join for $1, and that's going to be for a 7-day trial. Now, Rising lets you do a lot of things, but the most important thing is that it has a tri-merge credit report that shows all your information, and that's what you need before you start disputing, freezing, or opting out of anything. One other powerful and valuable resource that's available to consumers is the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and I'm going to show you a list of companies that actually report all of your information. Now, this list is updated regularly. It includes nationwide bureaus, specifically bureaus and niche data furnishers across multiple industries, and the CFPB breaks these companies down into categories, including credit, employment screening, tenant screening, deposit accounts, insurance, utilities, and a whole lot more. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, these companies are required to provide you with a copy of the information they have on you. Many of them will provide this information for free. And the process that we're going to discuss is always the same. You request your report, you review it for accuracy, you dispute anything that's incorrect, outdated, or unverifiable, and this will apply to every company that we'll look at on this list. And I strongly recommend that you download this and you keep it in your records. So even if you run into a denial or anything like that for whatever reason, you can trace the source instead of just guessing. So currently we are on files.consumerfinance.gov. I'm going to put a link in the description. Now, this is a list of consumer reporting companies, and this list was updated in 2025. So let's scroll down here and let's take a look at the table of contents. And the first thing that we're going to actually look at is who can see your consumer reports. Now, if we scroll down here, we can see consumer reporting companies must follow legal restrictions, but generally provide consumers reports and risk scores to an array of businesses, including lenders, employers, government agencies, landlords, banks, and credit unions. So there are all of these different industries that have reports on you for various reasons, like credit cards, home, payday loan, personal, title, auto, student loans, sometimes buy now, pay later, employers, tenant screening, and check screening. They even have this for debt buyers, insurance companies, telecommunication, retail stores, even gambling establishments. There is a secondary reporting for all of these things. Now, I just wanted to give you like a very brief overview of, exactly who can actually see these consumer reports, because that's very, very important. As you can see, it affects almost every aspect of your everyday life. So let's scroll back up for a second. So let's take a look at the know your data, all right? Because this is very important. So step number 1 that you should always take is to request. You want to get these reports from the companies on this list, and you can do it once again for free in most cases. Now, under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, all consumer companies are required to provide you a copy of the information in your report if you request it, and they'll do so in most cases for free. The bigger nationwide companies must provide you a free report no less than once every 12 months upon your request and within 15 days of receiving your request. As detailed below, you can currently request your data from the 3 largest nationwide consumer reporting companies on a weekly basis, but again, that's updated as of 2025. But even in 2026, currently right now, this is still applicable. Step 2 is review. You want to fact check your consumer credit reports from the 3 largest nationwide consumer reporting agencies. So they're talking about Equifax, TransUnion, and of course Experian. But let's scroll down to step number 3, and that's to dispute. Now, if you find information in your consumer report that you believe to be inaccurate or incomplete, you have the legal right to dispute the report if you do not agree with that information. So I just want to let you know that no matter which one of these reports that you're looking at, you will still follow the same 3 steps. Now, once again, we already know Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, and we know because I've talked about it in various videos. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. That is a way of getting your reports for free. Now, if you scroll down, we'll find other categories like employment screening. There are things like accurate background. Now, you can actually see exactly what this company does. Employment screening company. They search your credit history, your employment salary, your education, and your professional license. So we can keep scrolling down here. There's things like ADP screening and selection. They're also someone who does this with employment. If we keep scrolling down, there's Blend Insights, there's CCC Verify. There's a lot of different companies here that will actually have your information. So let's say that you were denied a job. There may have been some information with one of these companies that you can see that maybe you can dispute if it's holding you back from getting employment. HireRight is one that I've had background checks at previous jobs with plenty of times. So again, there's so many places. Now let's keep scrolling down and we'll move on to a different category. Next, we have tenant screening. So there are tenant screening companies that provide information like your credit history, eviction information, rent payment history, and things like that. There's AmRent, there's Appfolio Inc., there's Experian Rent Bureau, there's First Advantage Resident Solutions, RealPage Inc., RentGrow Inc., Safe Rent Solutions, Screening Reports Inc. So TransUnion Rental Screening Solutions Inc. If we keep scrolling down, of course, there are probably more companies, but those are more than likely the ones that a lot of other places will actually use. So if you're having an issue with getting an apartment because of a prior eviction, things like that, those are the companies that you want to take a look at. Then there's deposit and payment screenings. That's going to be things like, I'm sure we'll see Check Systems, right? I'm sure that we'll see Early Warnings, exactly what I was looking for, Global Payment, things like this, Telecheck Services. That's one that we're going to discuss a little bit later on. Then there's personal property insurance that you can take a look at. So once again, there are so many different secondary bureaus. LexisNexis is included among these, but they also have some other options here for LexisNexis. Then there's also medical, there's low income and subprime like Clarity Services or DataX, Factor Trust, Microbilt, Teletrack LLC, and then there's supplementary reports here like, of course, Innovis, which we've done a video on, and how to remove information from Innovis. If you want to watch that, I'm going to link that video right here. And then we have LexisNexis Risk Solutions, which is the main one that's used by a lot of companies to get information from you, as well as SageStream. Then for telecom and utilities, there are a lot of other companies here. There's also gambling and sports betting with Central Credit LLC and a few other companies. So that's the end of the list. We've gone all the way to the bottom. And again, I'm going to leave this available to you in the description, and you can download this for your personal records. I highly recommend having this because, again, if you're having any issues, more than likely one of these secondary reporting agencies will be the reason why you're having that issue. The first secondary bureau that we're going to be looking at is LexisNexis Risk Solutions, and we're going to look at how to request a security freeze as well as opting out. Now, I can't go over all of these companies, but again, we'll go over the major ones, at least the ones that will affect you in regards to credit repair and things like that. Now, I'm going to link this down in the description below, but it's pretty straightforward. You can freeze access to your credit file. Applying a security freeze prohibits LexisNexis and SageStream from releasing your LexisNexis Consumer Disclosure Report and your SageStream report or your credit score without your express authorization. Now, there are a few different ways that you can request a security freeze. The first way that you can do it is online. So you can request your security freeze or temporarily lift or permanently remove your security freeze, as well as order a replacement PIN for either yourself, a minor, a child, anything like that. So if you click on request a security freeze online, you'll be able to apply this. Now, if we click on here, it'll have all this information for you to fill out, and you'll enter all of your personal information like your first name, last name, date of birth, your social, your current address, everything else. And then you'll be asked to provide document types. And it could be anything from category 1 or category 2, as well as your social, a passport, military ID, or like a rent, a cable bill, some type of bank statement, credit card statement, a lease, a W-2, something like this to actually verify your identity. You can also request a security freeze by mail if you don't have access to the internet, or you can also request a security freeze by phone if you want to actually give them a phone call and maybe you have some additional questions. You also have the option to opt back in if you ever choose to do that as well. Now, here is the LexisNexis opt-out form, and it says right here that this form will assist you in opting yourself out as well as your family members, and you can click on next, and it'll actually take you to the instructions. Now, I do suggest, reading this and making sure that this information has not changed. Always read it. And then when you select your opt-out reason, you can choose a couple of things here, like I don't want my information shared. I'm a public elected official. I'm a law enforcement officer. You're a victim of identity theft. All these different options you can choose. And then when you do so, you'll click on next, and then you'll enter in all of your information. Now, once again, you can find the links down in the description if you choose to freeze or opt out of LexisNexis. The next secondary bureau that we're going to look at is going to be Innovis. Now, once again, we're on IdentityTheft.gov. You can either Google search this. I'll link it down in the description. But here you can choose to opt out or opt in, and you can do this in various ways. You can do it online by using the opt-out form, or you can also call, or you can also mail a letter. Now, when you do this, it's going to let you know that consumer reporting agencies may supply marketing lists to creditors and insurers, which use these lists to make firm offers of credit or insurance. Opting out refers to the process of removing your information from these lists. Opting in will refer to the process of adding your information back on these lists after you have previously opted out. Now, you do want to understand a few things about doing this because this will opt you out from Equifax, Experian, Innovis, and TransUnion, but it does show you that there are some benefits if you are actually opted in. So a firm offer of credit or insurance is defined as any offer of credit or insurance to a consumer that will be honored if the consumer is determined based on the consumer's credit report to meet specific criteria. So I do want to make this a point because I didn't do it in my last video. If you opt out, you may not get credit card offers and you may not get things like pre-qualifications. So if that was like a big deal to you where you were like, hey, I want to have this because I want to get that pre-qualified offer from Citibank, or I want that pre-qualified offer from Bank of America. Like, again, with these things, sometimes you're being like led to believe that you're getting something beneficial by this. I'd rather have my data removed from these things than get these services or get these pre-qualifications, because it's more important that my data is protected. But once again, if you wonder why you can't get pre-qualified for things, if you're wondering why you're not getting any offers, this would be the reason why. In that case, you may want to stay opted in. But you'll scroll down and you'll click on here to opt in or to opt out, and then it's going to ask you for all the same information: name, address, social, date of birth, and then you can choose. Now, if you opt in, you'll be able to actually get all this information put right back into this system. If you opt out electronically, you're only opting out for 5 years. You're not opting out permanently. Now, if you want to permanently opt out, you have to do it by mail, in which case you'll want to select that option and then you'll want to continue. But you can also try to opt out electronically for 5 years and then afterwards do a permanent opt out, if you want to do both, and you would fill out all of this information and then you would confirm. Now, the next secondary bureau that we're looking at is going to be Factor Trust, and Factor Trust is actually a subsidiary of TransUnion. Now, you can either opt in or opt out, and it pretty much says the exact same thing, right? Factor Trust will offer you credit, insurance, things like that. and you can opt out for 5 years electronically. Or if you send them a letter and you do this by mail, you can permanently opt out. The other option would be to opt in or opt out by phone, and you can call the toll-free number here. I also want to mention, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring this up, but for LexisNexis, let's say that for some reason you wanted to lift the freeze. If you're in a situation where you want to do that like right away, you can actually call them and it'll happen immediately. I've done this, it's fairly fast. And honestly, for any of these, if you want to call, usually that freeze will lift like right away if you needed to do so for whatever reason in a very short period of time. So don't be opposed to using that number and calling them. That's what the number is there for. It's so that you can have control over all of these services. Now, the next company that we're looking at is going to be ChexSystems, and you can submit the opt-out on their website. I'm going to scroll down here because, again, it's very straightforward. You do want to note that after submitting an opt-out request to ChexSystems, you may still continue to receive marketing material from companies that do not use ChexSystems because, again, like all these other companies that we looked at, they compile their own list. And just like all the rest, you can submit online, or you can also submit by other methods, which would be phone or also mail. And if you scroll up here, you also have the security freeze, which you can do. So you can place a freeze on ChexSystems, but like I told you before, placing a freeze on ChexSystems will not enable you to open accounts. You need to delete any information, and I have a video that shows you step by step how to dispute information on ChexSystems. The next company that we're looking at is Clarity Services Inc. They're part of Experian, the same way FactorTrust is a part of TransUnion, and you can opt out for 5 years. Same thing like the other ones. You fill out the information, you submit, and of course, you do have the option of opting out permanently. Now, the funny thing is they don't say it here, or at least they're trying not to show you, but it does work the exact same way. Now, even though it's not shown here, you can get in touch with them using this number, and they should be able to give you the opt-out form that you can then mail back to them. And it does say it right here. You have the option to opt out for 5 years or opt out permanently. I don't think that it's online, but it doesn't show it here, and it doesn't give you the option, but you can go through this process. If you see the option to opt out permanently and that's what you're trying to do, make sure to select that. But I believe that one has to still be done by mail. And the last company that we're going to be looking at is Teletrack, an Equifax company. Same way that FactorTrust is TransUnion and Clarity is Experian. Same thing with Teletrack and Equifax. Now, once again, we've done this several times now. So all of your information, and you can place a freeze, you can temporarily lift it, or you can actually remove a security freeze. And all of that can be done right here on this website. Again, it's very straightforward. It's very easy. And the one other thing that was missing is the opt-out selection for Teletrack. But here is the permanent opt-out form. What I did was I just went to Google and I just searched for it because, as you can see, request a freeze here, permanent opt-out is here, and you can actually fill this out, print it, fill it out, and you can mail it back to them if you want to opt out of Teletrack. All right, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Now, once again, if you're looking to remove information, watch my video, my guide that shows you how to remove information step by step from places like LexisNexis, from Early Warning, from ChexSystems, Innovis, places like that. If you want to opt out, then this is definitely good. If you want to freeze, then this video is definitely very good. If you have any questions about any of these secondary reporting agencies, please drop that in the comments below. Also, let me know if you got value from this video. I would really appreciate that. It lets me know to make more content like this and that it is helpful for the people watching this video. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it, and you guys have a wonderful day.